Sarah, it's time.
Welcome.
Recording. Wait, don't start welcoming.
Welcome.
We have to wait for Sarah now.
I can't leave Mom on red.
Is there something you'd like to share with the class, Sarah? My KK, that was his tea.
Please drink some
He
water.
was taking that for you.
Do I sound weird?
No, with that cough, I was like, that's the itchiest, scratchiest
It was
allergy
really
cough I've
itchy.
ever heard you come out of your
It's
mouth.
because your sinuses release.
Okay, Sarah, we're
Okay,
recording.
It's Caleb. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, no.
All right, everyone. This is Shanna on the mic. We are
really
doing
cool.
a check
On the
This
mic.
is Shanna on the mic, and we rock the mic. Whatever that
Right.
song is.
Sarah's dancing. She's doing really good.
Because it's April, we're gonna do an autism awareness. You don't know where the special
Here, you
sleeves
can have
are.
mine because I love you.
Oh my god, thank you.
That is so sweet.
Also, Shanna doubled my cup.
Yeah,
So
that's right. Old barista trick.
you're out of the. What do they call
Letter
it?
Oh, we do hers.
What are they called? Coffee sleeves? But what are they actually called? Is that what it is?
Sleeves.
Sleeves. Okay.
Yeah.
Look at
Anyway, so you guys, we're doing an autism awareness episode for the month of
Okay, wait, hold
February.
on.
Okay, stop.
She said-
what we're
she
gonna
said-
do is the
wait.
autism. Autism.
Wait. Before you say autism, Shanna only
Autism.
introduced herself.
Yeah.
I was
Okay.
about to.
Oh, okay. So you.
But then we did the barista joke, then we gave the sleeves, we
start
did the
over.
whole thing.
Oh no, we're not going to
No,
start over.
these are the
We
fun-
keep it all.
Yeah, we do.
Oh,
we love
great.
it.
Because it's funny.
When we
Okay.
did our drinking one, we burped a little bit.
Gross.
Chica's like, I need to eat something.
I'll give me a card.
Also, listen, I didn't hear that one.
I didn't.
We
do
haven't done it yet.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
It
I'm
was last
working on
week,
it.
yeah.
So as I was saying,
Okay.
So we have Sarah and
I'm Sarah, the second oldest, and I'm here
Uh-huh.
on this special day.
Yes.
I'm here every day. They just started without me.
Sarah's very busy working on her master's degree, so we don't really get to see her that often. She just wants us to. We just
Okay, we
stop
don't
by
see
for
her
fun.
as much as we would normally see her if she wasn't doing school.
In
But we
person.
see her.
In
we see
person.
her all the time. We FaceTime all
But
day.
when we say that, I just want you guys to know that we do never go
5
a day
minutes without talking to each other.
I probably, if I do, it feels weird.
Yeah.
So we FaceTime nonstop, and I live 0.4 miles from Jaquel because we
bought houses
obviously
0.4 miles away.
know each other's locations because
Yeah.
we wouldn't be the codependent family we are without that.
Right.
Yeah.
And
I
then-
love that we bought our houses so close.
Oh,
Can't wait for
Mine's
Shannon
in the
to buy.
stars. It's coming. I just don't
Okay.
know where.
Also, I don't need to be introduced, but
Why
Jaquel's
not?
here too.
We all sound the
But
same.
Jaquel's here too.
Okay, so we are a family with autism. We have a lot of autism in our family, and there's a lot of autism in the world. And April is Autism Awareness Month. So
But
we're
it's
going
every
to-
month is Autism Awareness Month
Right.
in
It
our
should
homes.
be.
That's right.
It should be all the time because awareness,
Because people are stupid.
and people are rude.
You better say it. You
Well,
better tell them.
the truth is,
Wow.
I didn't even mean to do that.
Pardon
That
you.
came across so well. check. Stigma is in every aspect of our lives, whether it's addiction and alcoholism, which we have in our family, mental health issues we have in our family. We are survivors of a suicide. We are disability is in our family. We have all those things, and there's always a stigma that comes along with it. So if we don't
We
have
like
awareness,
to live life to the fullest.
We do.
We like to excel at everything.
we
so
like
we
to
dabble
have
in everything.
every kind of stigma.
We like
And
to
if
be
there's one
we're
missing,
Jill's of all trade. You know what I mean?
no pun intended.
Knee slapper.
But yeah, like awareness is everything.
So I do have a question for you guys to start it off with a bang.
Well, first let's talk about what autism is.
Well, first
okay.
let's talk about who in our family, like our children are autistic. So that's autistic. Autistic.
Okay, so out of the 5 of us, 4 of us have kids.
Right.
There's 9 grandkids, and 4 of the 9 grandkids have autism. I have 2, Colby and Caleb. They're 26 and 23, 2, almost 23.
Yeah.
Jaquel has
One. Logan.
one. That's
He's
Logan.
17.
He's 17.
Sarah, you have 2 boys, Colby and Caleb. Both are autistic. And now
Right.
you go ahead and talk about what
You were
you
going
are
to
going to say now. Autism is.
Autism is a different operating system. A lot of people think that it is, I don't know how to say it without it. Okay, so it's a processing neurological disorder. So things are processed different. And what has been found out lately is that people with autism process things sensory wise a lot differently than we do, and a lot more, they process more things than we do, like sound, all the different senses. For instance, my oldest son Colby, when everything's heightened, his smell, taste, all those things, in that son, and
which is why you would have a picky eater with autistic children too.
Right.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So it's a lot of different sensory things. So a lot of people think that if there's a child with autism that, say, doesn't use his words as much, doesn't communicate verbally as much compared to, like mine, for instance. I have one that talks nonstop, and I have one that doesn't talk at all, but they still communicate with me, their mom, of course, the best they can. But it doesn't mean, this is another stigma there is, when people say, oh, he's high functioning.
Yeah,
to us, the outside world, it looks like they function more like us normal people. Normal is in quotes, like a typical person, because to us it looks like they're functioning in our world, and other quotes, better. But for them, the struggle is the same. They're processing things different, the same. One just masks more like a typical person.
And masking is?
Masking is when they go through the motions of doing what we do instead of...
It's like what they consider to be normal,
right? It's almost like
right?
hiding their...
It's just like, it's just
their
like somebody who would...
We've ingrained in them to live in the world, so they...
We, as in the world has,
yes.
to live in the world how we do, and that's how they would survive better. But in reality, it's very hard, because the way they calm themselves down, and the way they
talk towards them.
Oh, and the way they what's it called?
Self-regulate.
Yeah, is different. Like outwardly, you'd see different things like stimming. Like sometimes it's vocal stimming, and a lot of people stim. Like say someone with ADHD will shake their leg.
Yeah,
and
I do all those things.
And we are aware that that person's either like got extra stress, or that's how they're able to sit still or whatever. But when someone like Colby, who's 6'6", 230 pounds, flaps his arms because that is how he regulates his nervous system, we see that as like, not me. I think everything he does is perfect. But we say that as
when
like...
we say we, we're talking about like the world.
Yeah, not world. Each other.
Because our kids are
Colby
perfect.
was born when I was 15, so...
Right, and so they don't know any different.
I'm a young 30
He's
now.
the oldest or nephew. So yeah, it's a processing difference, and some things are delayed as far as like the outside world sees it, but the reality is that they're just wired differently, and we do the best we can in my family to make sure they're as happy as they can be. I don't give a shit what the rest of the world says.
Yeah.
I don't.
So when we walk through a crowd and Colby's stimming and people are looking, how do you feel?
It used to bother me so fucking badly. Like it would bother me, and I'd be like,
not Colby. People looking at him or staring.
Yeah, people look gawking. And they still stare, because it's almost like a little kid in a grown man's body, and people do stare, but. It took me a lot of years to realize, like, my kids don't care. They literally are themselves 100% of the time, all the time.
Yeah.
And they don't care what other people think.
Yeah. Right. That's not to say that they don't notice.
Right.
Just so you're aware.
Yeah.
They're aware of everything that you're doing. They see
your energy. Right.
Yes. They see everything.
Colby will come back and tell us, yeah, remember this or that? Like that person, we're like, oh.
Yes, yeah. And they remember
that one time, that one person.
Everything.
Yeah,
to
so
the
if
date
you
and
think
the
you're
time.
looking at a kid with special needs and they're not realizing that you're gawking at them in public, that is not the case.
Yeah, they do know. But me as the mom,
they just don't care.
I want to rip someone's face off.
Oh, for sure. There's an overprotection because we're like, don't hurt my baby angel.
Yeah, but really, I had to come to terms with like when they don't care, I shouldn't care. They're gonna be upset if they see their mom's upset, but they're not gonna know why if they don't happen to see. So there's a lot of things that I've learned from my kids with autism. First of all, just be yourself completely and not to give a shit what anyone thinks. Which we're kind of like that anyways in our family. Our mom told us
totally.
Like, I do the same with my kids. Like, you're amazing.
Yeah.
And everything you do is good. So it taught me to kind of be myself, but it also taught me to remember, like, I'm not in control of what other people do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if they're looking, they just...
I like to look right back at them in the eyes.
I do a I gave him the one.
Let the record show that Shanna is putting on her resting bitch face.
Also, there's no blinking.
There are times, and then if people ask, I educate people because if I have the energy for that, to be honest, you know what I mean? Like,
It's not our
also,
responsibility,
it's not your responsibility
to educate other
them.
people. But I do like, I'd rather
Go
tell
with the
them.
mind meld right now.
Yeah, it's not our responsibility to educate people.
No,
but
it's not.
We're happy to do it most of the time.
Of course, and it's not our kids' responsibility to make sure other people are comfortable for them to exist.
Right.
It's not. They are literally just as valid.
That goes into our puzzle piece conversation that we had, because I don't have negative. Well, I do. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
it's not my favorite organization that something's missing from my child.
I see why that makes
So
sense.
like there's a missing until every
here's
last
the
piece
missing
fits
piece.
is what they said.
But
and
we
that's
don't
why.
need our kids to fit into the
Also,
world.
that's never going to
world-
even. What is that?
The world needs to make room for our kids.
And hold the space for them to be who they are.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's why a lot of parents.
I didn't know that.
And then with Autism Speaks, they supposedly the whole deal with that was where the money was going for that wasn't spent where it was supposed to go. The reality is for our family, because all of that it fucking bothers. It does.
Yeah.
And I can find any reason to be annoyed because it's been hard to navigate. I mean, our kids are mine are 20, mine's 26, they didn't know what, he didn't even have a school to go to until he was 7. And Logan's 17, like we're seasoned fucking parents. We're getting there, you know what I mean? So I really awareness is awareness. So if that's going to be what's shared, that's fine. If people are going to find something to be mad about,
right?
And as long as we understand, like, I don't agree with this part of it, but if it brings awareness, that's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
That's fine.
Exactly.
But yeah.
So I have a question for you, Sarah. Then, how old was Colby when he was officially diagnosed, and then how did you?
Was he 4?
How was your
7?
Oh, 7.
Yeah. How did you feel?
Oh,
in
it's
that?
so traumatizing. I love talking about this, especially when people call me because they have newly diagnosed
Really,
kids.
yours was I felt such a relief.
But Logan was a lot older,
I had to
right?
fight for Logan's.
I did too. I went to
diagnosis,
Utah.
Yeah, but like
very many different
7.
places.
So you're talking 19 years ago. I still feel like even though it was there, it's like when people say, "Oh, we didn't have that." I'm like,
well, people
yes,
still
you
called
did.
it the R word. That's why it's unacceptable. So,
and it's still in Colby's IEP.
yes,
That word is still used.
Yeah. So, and yeah, it's offensive to me, but do you think Colby gives a shit?
No, he doesn't.
So we're going to let it go.
It is
and we
offensive.
will continue to
educate people when they say things wrong.
And advocate because, I mean, there's people in our family. It's the same as, like, sometimes the word gay is like, oh, that's gay. And I will say without saying, a dear person, one of my very dear person's daughter, mentioned that she sounded offensive and that didn't want her cousin's feelings to be hurt. And so I've made it a point to not say that because I think that that's the same. We need to...
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Right. And, like, we don't want to hurt people's feelings just because we're not educated, and that's what the point is.
Right.
And
then their
we're not
defense is
toddlers.
that you're not educated, but you're mad that you're not educated, so you want to make us feel bad because you're...
Right?
There's a vicious circle there.
And it just goes along with, like, everybody's dealing with their own shit. We have to be aware. We're not fucking toddlers. We don't get to just say what the fuck we want and hurt people along the way. Like, I'm not trying to save every person I come in contact with, but there was a time where I was super angry and I didn't give a shit. I was like, I don't fucking care what you're going through. My life's been hard, so this is who I am.
Right.
And that's a terrible excuse. Just to, like, hurt people, and there's no reason to do that. But back to, like, diagnosis. So I had Colby was 7, and I don't know, when I had kids, I just thought they were the best thing ever. And,
Of course,
you love your kids, and when someone tells you something, they are.
Also, he was the only nephew, so this was our first experience so far, right? Colby's the oldest, and so it was the first experience, and knowing that it wasn't.
It took a really long time, and there wasn't information available, and we went to all kinds of seminars, and my mom would go, and my sisters would go, and I had little sisters that I was very close with, and I was like, I assigned myself you guys' mom, not because someone told me to. I mean, Dad always said, like, take care of your sisters and your mom, and I didn't realize how bad it affected me until I had been, like, years of therapy.
Right.
Done my steps in AA, but, like, so like I already had all this responsibility because I wanted to make sure my sisters were okay. Like I really don't have anything to do with that. I can be here for you guys, but like that's not my responsibility.
Yeah.
And then I had a kid, and we just thought he was
the best
heaven and earth. You
Oh
know what I mean?
God.
He's still just the
a
best.
sweet baby Colby.
The best.
It doesn't matter if
Really
he's
is the
6'6", I still...
And he still remembers.
We'll
4
snuggle
years
him.
old. Remember
Yeah,
that? Remember
they
that
remember-
smell from 4 years?
That is crazy.
What are
The
we even
memory
smelling right now?
Is insane.
Yeah.
And then just remembering things to like the
That's
date.
actually funny.
At like 2 years old, I'm like,
me
you were
and-
2. We were driving in the car. How did you see?
Me
like,
and
you
Colby
remember?
went on set, or he came with me on Autotopia. I always say
I
it
know.
wrong. At Disneyland, and I'm all, Colby, what does it smell like? Because I knew the second, because it triggers
desert?
my
For me too.
my memories.
I'm like, let me just
from
slow
us.
down.
And he said, oh, it's the desert.
Oh my God,
And,
he's so cute.
You know,
'Cause
the last
those are
time
ga-
he's gone, let's think about that for a second. How long ago was
I mean,
that?
it's been at least 10 years.
at least 15, Shanna.
Andy's been gone for 12 years.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I thought it was 10 still. in my mind.
And 2 years before that, we weren't doing family.
Right, exactly.
Oh, there
So, like-
was. There was one family trip that was so traumatizing. We're not going to get into that.
Okay.
Another day.
Another day. Another
But,
podcast.
Yeah, but he just
a mode on
remembers
the trauma.
his memory is amazing. So when he got his diagnosis, it was a lot of work, and although I wanted to know so that he could, just so my kids could be set up and do, you know,
Right.
go to school and do normal things. I
Right.
didn't know my life was going to be what it ended up, which
It's
it's good, but it's still, when you have an idea of what your life is going to be.
there's a grieving process.
Right. So he got his diagnosis, but at the same time, Caleb got his. So Caleb was 4.
Oh, that's right.
And I was like, what do you mean Caleb seems autistic?
Because Caleb was totally
so
different.
talkative, taught himself to read at 4, which are all signs of
Yeah.
He's so cute.
so
cute.
and
But so different.
in-
so that's how you know there's the spectrum so wide.
it is. It's so wide, even for someone's own. And there is so much denial that goes along with what's happening with our kids. There just is.
Yeah, at first there's
There's
denial.
nothing you can do about that unless you're like always in perfect, like, mind, body, and spirit is always 100%, which is not a thing, you know?
Yeah,
like,
nobody's that way.
So
I don't even know what that meant when you said that.
You know, well, you're always like
100%.
aware of yourself and always aware of.
like taking care of your mental health,
Yeah.
your physical, and your soul. Like what really. That's what
Sarah's a perfect picture of that right now.
I really am spiritually
She's worked
fit,
so hard.
and- no, but I do work hard, but I'm never a perfect picture of that. But I did get my degree in health and wellness, and that is what it's centered on: body, mind, and soul. Your spirit.
Oh, okay.
So it sounds like it's not a real degree, but it is actually a health science degree.
I don't think so.
So
And no one ever said that.
no, I'm just saying that people are dumb and people will wonder. They'll be like, what does that even mean? What is that, like a Bible school? No.
Masters in Bible training.
So when that happened, I think I was also pregnant with Caden, and I had a very hard pregnancy with Caden.
that was a hard
That was
one.
gnarly.
So Colby, Caleb, and Caden are my 3 kids in order. And so Colby was 7, he got a diagnosis, and then Caleb's preschool was like, yeah, I think he has autism. And I was like, what do you mean? I have a kid with autism. That's
Yeah.
Totally
nothing
different,
like
yeah.
it. So then he got his diagnosis as well, which was a relief, but also stressful because we lived in a small town and the only
There's
school was
nothing
35,
available.
40 minutes away. And I have these children who I thought, well, first of all, I don't like anyone to go anywhere ever. I never have. So the idea of them going to school and me being at home and waiting for them at the bus stop wasn't a fucking thing.
Yeah.
And so I was pregnant, and that pregnancy, I was so sick. I had what they call now that super crazy sickness
yeah.
where they give you IVs because I couldn't keep anything down for 7 months.
Don't I know it?
And so I had Caden, and all within that year, my kids had got their diagnosis and all these things were happening, and it was all good, but it was too much. So
Yeah.
my postpartum depression came out as anxiety, and I had severe anxiety and constant state of worry is all I can. And I was looking back, I was very disassociated with what was going on. I was able to be there in person, but I felt like I was watching myself. So that is basically how I dealt with their diagnosis. Like I had to eventually get on medicine, which my dad now is okay with it. But at the time, our parents were very much against mental
Yeah.
health medicine,
true.
which is, our mental health is just as important as our physical. We already know that.
Right.
So, I mean, now I'm fine with it.
And to go into that, at that time, there was a lot of weird things happening
Yeah,
in the
the
world.
stigma
and
of,
they
like-
blamed it on pharmaceuticals.
They blamed it on
So-
pharmaceuticals, and they also blamed it on women. There's just
Women.
not that great of an understanding of our mental health and how we take care of it, and women and what we go through having a pregnancy and the hormones and our mental
We're
state.
just supposed to have the babies and be quiet.
And we are
God,
super strong, and a lot of people can do that.
But they don't talk about the trauma
But they
you have
don't
just
talk
giving
about- right.
birth, just being pregnant, you know?
And then how you deal with the life after. Like, it's just not talked about enough.
Yeah.
It's not good or bad. And if some people love being pregnant, I don't love it. I love my kids.
don't love it
do not
either.
like being pregnant.
I love it after I'm not sick.
You do. Mom's like that too. There's no short stories with
No,
Sarah.
we don't know.
No,
how,
it's fine.
we don't know how to do that.
Yeah, that was
Also, you're
challenging.
talking about 26 years worth of their lives that have just been navigating how to make sure that they are comfortable in the world, not that anyone else is. And
Right.
that's a lot in itself.
And the truth is sending your kid to school school when they're 5 is hard. You're
Or when
sending, it's literally like having
if they can't communicate their
Right.
needs. That is
Or
like
just
Or if someone
communicate.
does something.
Yeah. Okay. So the fear is that something's going to happen and they're not going to tell me. Whether
Right.
it's a fear.
It
So
happens.
It does
so
happen. It happens. And then
it's not irrational.
we also have a mom who did everything in her power to change the cycle of abuse. So with that comes a lot of generational trauma. So like we were very protected and sheltered, and that's good. There was nothing wrong with that. On the other side of that, we had the underlying fear we could hear in our mom's tone with certain things.
Right.
So I didn't go into the world trusting everybody.
Right.
And I don't think anyone does, but I think there are good people
Oh
in
yes,
the world.
they do. Like I feel like that's exactly how Shanna went into the world. Naive.
100%.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%. As an adult.
As an adult?
Yeah.
Well, no, that's true. I did too.
I mean,
and
I
that's
only
why
stopped
when Andy-
attending church at
when my kids-
23. Like, it wasn't like...
that in itself is a week's worth of trauma. Like,
That's
I
what
can't
I
even
said
explain
on
to
the
you.
last one.
another
I said we
Growing
should
up in a
have
cult?
religious trauma because so many people have it.
And it comes up a lot because
It comes up almost daily.
I am in recovery, and in recovery, the 12 steps program that I did, you have to believe in a power greater than yourself that isn't tangible. It's not
Right.
like a person or anything. So you have to look at where your prejudgments
and I
about
also think that
Right.
when you're raised in
a strict,
religious...
conservative.
Exactly. There's an underlying anger, even though you're like taught like, oh, God's merciful and this and that.
Well,
but then
also
it's like,
when it's a religion
but
where
then he will
everything-
strike you down.
Vengeful guy.
Yes, and I'm like,
And then when
they
it's like
can't-
sex is bad, sex isn't bad.
No.
yeah, and then you have sex, and then
Or
you're
having
married for
those
still
feelings.
6 months, and you're like, this is weird, even though
Why
you don't
is
go to
it
church
okay
anymore.
now?
Or
Yeah.
having those feelings like that's not normal.
Yeah, that's why we have to.
Don't worry, I talked about it in therapy already.
Oh yeah, I've been to so much therapy about that.
I'm fine with it now, but when I first got married,
We
I
will
was like,
definitely be
We'll delve
having-
into that.
We do.
another
We're gonna
day.
And I
have
bring it
that.
up sometimes in meetings in the recovery program that I'm in.
Yeah.
It's kind of a joke because it is considered a cult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when
But you know what? That's like a life or death. Like you either get into that and,
Or you die.
And it's so strict
Yeah.
or you die.
Yeah.
Exactly. You're not going to survive that by yourself.
Right.
Right.
So that's a little different. It's like we'll get into that when
It's
we have
more of like a black and white decision rather than what
There's
it's
so
like
many
in real
varying
life is like a
grays.
full gray zone.
Well, that is what the reality
And then
is.
the
is
rest
people
is
think
the
everything's
the
so black
devil.
and white, and I'm like, but what about all the other
Yeah.
parts that we went through that you don't want to talk about?
Yeah.
Same with pregnancy.
pregnancy. Yeah.
Oh yeah, but look at you, this beautiful baby. Oh really?
The baby
I'm
is
300
beautiful.
pounds.
But what if the mom can't fucking talk because she's so traumatized? Isn't there an issue with that?
Exactly.
Oh my god, we should talk about this on another.
We will.
Okay, so Sarah.
So I was
we
super
have it on our
traumatized,
list.
but I
Yeah.
went through with it because I know what's best for my kids is gonna be how they can manage the world. Because the other thing that comes along with being a parent with kids
Adding
with
it to our
disabilities,
notes. Yes.
Jaquel, you know this too,
yes.
is what's gonna happen when I'm not here. Mm-hmm. It's literally
It's
the most
terrifying.
underlying
Keeps you up at night.
worry that every parent has, but also more so when you have kids with a disability.
I was literally
That
thinking about
depend on you for their safety and survival.
Yeah.
Right. So I was thinking about, let's talk about this for a second because I had to legally fight for our home. We had to
Right.
go to court for it. Mm-hmm. And we won because we were in the right, but we spent a lot of money doing it. Having said that, when we were talking to the lawyers, these are people who have so much education. Mm-hmm. he was talking about kids with special needs because there's a special needs trust that Logan has.
Right.
And he said, oh, the kids with disabilities that don't get out much, that their parents shelter and protect, we call them closet kids. I said, you call them what?
Yeah, because there's no stigma.
And let me tell you this. He said it 4 times in that conversation. I said, I'm not talking to that attorney again.
Why didn't you just correct the attorney?
I did.
Oh, okay, good.
Oh, but
I'm
he just
not,
continued
but
to
he
say
continued to do it.
Because
And
I
then
was
let
going
me
to
tell
find
you
his
this.
name and call him about it.
Let me tell you this. I don't think they're in business anymore.
Really?
Yeah, because we looked them up and they were gone. They said they were having a hard time after COVID.
Right.
Anyways, let me tell you, his wife later had contacted us in a totally different conversation, and again,
She said
used
it?
the term closet kids. And I
Also-
cannot understand why they thought, first of all, it was appropriate. Second of all, why is this coming up like this? Are you guys doing a lot of special needs trusting?
Because
You're calling
they're-
these people closet kids.
Because they
Are you
don't-
calling them this in the court of law?
Yes.
Like, it's disgusting to
Yes.
me.
Okay. This
Ew.
is crazy that you. Okay. So it's disgusting because that hurts our feelings first and
course.
foremost, and it is not politically correct.
Yeah.
And we were raised by parents who wanted us to understand that the outside world, there are people out there that get treated poorly. That this is why you're treated this way, and that there is racism, and that there is all those things. So
Right.
it falls into that too, and it's hard to understand that ignorance comes across as being hurtful.
Right.
So that's why
But I
awareness is
find
such-
it so hard that these people are ignorant.
Okay,
with their
listen, I'm getting my
education.
I'm getting my master's degree.
Right.
And I'm not trying to say, oh, I'm getting my master's degree, but these are very educated
not?
people.
Say it.
And my professor
it.
is a doctor. She's a doctor.
Right.
And I'm in the public health field. In my degree, it's getting the data on so I do a lot on Fraser Park because that's where we're at. And
Right.
it's a rural area, and there's a lot
There's
of
not a lot of things available to us, and there's vulnerable people.
right. And so my kids, for instance, and your son, the kids that have special needs, don't have a day program. And a lot of people, another terrible term they use is adult daycare, like that girl did last night. And she has a son with autism. That's totally inappropriate. What it is a program so your kids aren't sitting at home playing video games all day like my kids
As an
were.
adult.
As an adult.
Right.
And I said kids because I'm right. As an adult, if that's not what you want them to do, you want them to get out and do things. I'm a single mom. I need a little bit of time to myself. And there's a lot of guilt in that too. And they go and they can go and do things. They do yoga in the morning, all those things. Anyways.
They're so cute.
So it's not an adult daycare, even though that sounds really nice. It's not a nice thing to say.
Yeah, because
well,
it
if you think
also
about it, it
it's-
sounds really condescending. It doesn't sound nice. It sounds mean.
Okay, so there's like a needs assessment that's done by a hospital every 2 or 3 years, right? And so you can see the areas that need
for
help.
the kids, they
for
assess
all
the
the
children.
needs of the community.
Oh, okay.
But they call right now we call it a priority population, and so that would be so in my area it is the elderly, or it would be like the women and children, or it would be like kids with special needs. It used to be called, I can't remember what it is now because I know it's not politically correct, but even in that area, we changed that in just the last year.
Right.
Instead of, what the fuck was it called before? The whole reason I told you that whole story was when you're educated and when you continue to stay up on your things that go on in the world, it is important to remember we do things so that we don't offend people, but not just because people are soft or whatever the fuck's what's his
Stupid
name
thing you want to
says.
say.
We're not allowed to say whatever we want in the world.
With no consequence.
You're not allowed to just say whatever
That's what
you
I'm
want.
saying.
You
That's-
need to think before you speak.
And that is what comes up when people are like, well, isn't this a free country? I'm like, it is, but you're also born with a social security card.
Yeah.
We do have numbers. We are citizens of this. They don't own us, but there are laws and things to abide by.
Gilead.
yeah.
But there's
the cop that came
there's
looked like the
fucking
guy from-
consequences for the
There's
shit we do.
consequences to your actions.
But also, we are educated. We're
Right.
educated people, and it is important to understand. Like, it's good to be educated, and when a lawyer who is, they know the law. They're not. They're supposed to be just like doctors. Like I'm
The
more
neutral
than
there
medical.
should be some sort of
There
bedside
should be bedside
manner.
manner. There is, and it's taught to be that. You're supposed to be culturally appropriate. You're supposed to be. You're supposed to. There's always should be a way to communicate with people.
This
and
actually
there
brings
shouldn't be barriers like that. So when
Right.
people say stuff like that, it should be brought to their attention, but it also is not our responsibility to always do that.
Correct.
And you don't want, for someone who's fighting a lawsuit that was for a child with special needs, should not fucking have that kind of bedside fucking language or whatever you call it.
If you specialize in special needs trusts, have some awareness.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that actually brings me to the IEPs. Our children have IEPs, which are individualized education programs. Program, something. Yeah. I don't know, you guys, but I couldn't even think of it. I was looking at Sarah's face. I think it's plan.
I felt like I was talking out of your mouth. That's how codependent I am. I know that people don't like that word because there is...
It doesn't bother me.
We're codependent and we are very enmeshed, but we've been that way. We got that way because of the trauma from our...
Also, we like each other. We want to hang out.
And from Andy dying, we slowly got closer and closer. And things that happened, and my kids, the autism diagnosis, and me, all the things.
The religious trauma, all of it together.
And
we are codependent.
We are.
Yeah.
We stay in therapy. We do the best we can to work on our mental health, and then we've only survived because we've been that way. Yeah, so when I say that, it's not a bad thing. So priority population. It before it was called something and it was like offensive. Not that we're not trying to offend anybody. This is for data purposes and stuff. But this is information that goes out to the public to help these people. So you don't want them to be offended by the name of their fucking program. Priority populations is low income populations, racial, ethnic minorities, women, us, we're part of that, children and adolescents. So those are usually the priority populations that I work with to build programs to come together to help in a community setting.
Right. So let's talk about IEPs, individualized education plan. Program.
I don't know. I was just saying whichever one.
I think it's plan. I'm trying to look at like in my brain.
Let's just say it's both because it's essentially
a plan and a program are very much the same.
They're very much the same, but it's going to irritate me.
I'm looking.
It's okay. Sarah's looking it up for you.
Okay, tell me how that went for you. Okay, tell me how your diagnosis went. Though,
yeah, before we get to IEPs.
Even though.
Let me just tell you how hard it was to even start this process. It's not easy to get an IEP.
Plan.
But plan. Okay,
individualized education plan.
Okay, so this is through the school. Now, what happens is first of all, you need to get an IEP. And how that happens is either the teacher requests it, which can be hard depending on the teacher and what they...
Well, because it costs funding.
It's $10,000 $25,000 per student. Right?
I don't remember
funding for the IEP?
Funding for the IEP.
I don't remember what it was. I
think it's $10,000 per student.
I was like, 25
I just remembered I didn't care. I just wanted
it. It is a lot because you're going to first of all, the assessment alone is a lot. It's through a psychologist. But But this is a good tip for parents in general. If you do a written request for an IEP to the school, they have to do it by law. Which is
it's a public
and
school?
The teacher's not allowed to tell you that either.
Yeah, because in any kind of government assistance, and this isn't anything to bash the government, I don't care what anyone thinks about that. I'm never going to judge someone for how they view or what their fucking side is. I don't care. But I will for sure educate people on certain things. The services that the government has for people in these priority populations, which include our children and us because we're women and any other women that are listening to this, are for this reason. We don't have, for me, I have 2 children on the spectrum.
Right.
I don't have an extra $10,000 when I have a 3 and a 7-year-old. I'm literally just starting my life.
Right. Exactly.
Just for them to say what basically, essentially is wrong with your kid as the world sees it. And that part is really hard.
Yeah.
And I was like...
So a written request will get you an IEP or a teacher. And there's other ways to go about it. The school psychologists themselves could say, your kid might need, do great with an IEP.
And there is separate funding for that. It's not taking from anyone else.
The funding is already there.
So an IEP,
what happens when they do have an IEP?
They get evaluated. By the teacher, a
speech
speech pathologist, a psychologist,
the school psychologist,
and
someone else is
an
there.
Administrator.
There is. They're there for the IEP meeting, but the assessment starts out with the starts small with the teacher, and then it goes to the school psychologist.
And they observe them sometimes at home. They observe them on the playground. They do a lot of observing.
Yeah,
okay.
Because and also
they just want to see what they'll
answer.
That they get a legal, clinical medical diagnosis.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So and that I'm just trying to people who don't know.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Like, so once they have an IEP, it gives them extra services.
First they get evaluated.
So let's
if
go
they
over
can
that.
even have an IEP.
Yeah, let's take a step back here. They get evaluated to see if they're eligible for an IEP. Then the assessment set up if they're eligible for the IEP.
Right. So they get
And then they
because
have
why
a
wouldn't they be?
3-hour IEP. I mean, not IEP. 3-hour assessment or longer, depending on what it is.
When they're
where
young, especially, it's more of an assessment because
they're watching them
have
for
to
a long
observe.
time.
It's not like you can ask them questions and they're going to answer.
Now, let me tell you my worst IEP situation.
Okay, wait, hold on. So then, once they assess and say, okay, this person is okay for an IEP, then they get an IEP, which every teacher goes through and does a goal, a 4-month goal,
The speech pathologist,
a 9-month
the
goal,
teacher.
a year goal.
Oh, you mean
So
the people that
math-
are on the assessment or
math,
doing
English,
the assessments?
Yep.
They
Every
make.
subject
They get
have
speech therapy, they get
other therapies too.
all kinds of things.
Yeah.
But every one of those classes, say there's like 5 or 6 classes, each one of those teachers sets up a plan. So
Wow.
it's so hard because as a parent,
You're
have
literally
to
hearing
yes.
all of this stuff come at you about your child.
You can't process it.
Yeah.
And some of the stuff they're talking about, they're like, and cognitively, he's here and he should be here. So we're going to say he's at a 5th grade level. When my kid's fucking 15 years old, you're like, that's where I'm like, I don't love how they have to get the data, but like, I'm going to be okay with that right
Yeah.
now so they can have what they need.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. Like, I don't remember the last time they told me what level of school I was at. Like,
Yeah.
you have so much you have to process. So then once you get the IEP, then tell me what your experience was with that.
So, before the IEP, during the assessment process, his first school psychologist sat with Logan for a grand total of 15 minutes and diagnosed him with ADHD. And I said, you sat with him for 15 minutes? I know how long I'm supposed to be here.
Yeah.
I know that you're not. She said he's not answering my questions. Yeah, because he's autistic. Like,
Oh my God, yeah.
So
I hope you got fired, ma'am.
Well, I did make waves for her.
Okay,
She
I have a psychologist that did that when Colby was 7, and
Yeah.
I think you remember, Mom was with me and Andy was with me because it was very hard. It's just very hard to go. There's people in this world that
Do you know the build up to go to this appointment?
It's just so.
It's
Like, I haven't slept
crying.
for a week.
You're
I don't think
panicked.
people understand. And
You're sick.
when the mom is upset in the household, what happens to the rest of the household?
Everybody's upset.
Right.
Nothing's getting done.
And for our kids who are sensory seekers,
right.
and then pick up our energy because they're so
Exactly.
aware, it's like, oh my God.
Exactly.
That's what
You all right, Mom?
So then when this happened, the similar thing happened, and Colby was already in Bakersfield, remember, with Miss Pat,
O'Connor,
who he loves still.
I pass that school all the time.
And this psychologist said, just spouted off all these things about autism, and then was like, and mental retardation is really common. And I was like, I literally can't handle that you would even put that in there.
Yeah.
We know what
But
these
it's
are.
still there.
You cannot.
Yes, they use that term still.
And I was like, he's not, though. That's not even part of autism.
No.
There are, of course.
They still
yes.
use that term. They still use that term. It
Because
shouldn't
the
be.
world has made it into something terrible. It also feels terrible. Yeah. So yeah, I just said, like, I know you didn't spend time with my kid because all you did was spout off facts that we could have looked up online. Like, I don't want you to be
Exactly.
facts I
You
already
didn't
know.
take the time
Exactly.
to do your job.
Yeah.
And
that's
your job.
and I brought it up. So then fast forward, we're in the actual IEP meeting, and she goes over this long, extensive thing that she sat with
made
him,
up.
and he has ADHD that she made up. And I said, "Excuse me, ma'am, I won't say your name on here, and you're lucky that I'm not." You sat with my child for 15 minutes and you got all this information. And she said, "Oh, well, we sat for longer." I said, "No, you didn't. No, you didn't."
I know. The same thing happened with me.
And I said, and I want a different evaluation. And then they made me wait. They made me
I
wait the
do remember
triennial.
this.
And I met with the other one within... She
I
sat the
remember
full
when
3
that
hours.
happened.
You
You
came
were on this couch.
Yes.
Yeah, I was like, I feel
You
like...
sat for the three. No, not here. We weren't here. We were in the library over at.
I was there.
You were there.
I was there.
We
yes.
were there, but I did have to sit out.
Which
obviously.
was already a hard time because I think it was during COVID.
No, Sarah. This is after Andy died. It was
I
when we were in
am literally the worst at trying to remember traumatic things.
Yeah.
I know it's hard. Anyway,
That's because they just go like this in our lives.
Well,
So,
no, because we just
finally
Before or after.
So just so you know, to get another assessment where they made me wait, that's what is that? A year and a half? No, 3
Yeah,
years.
it shouldn't have been. Yeah,
Triennial.
So the triennial is every 3 years
Every
with
3
the
years.
big one. And you
No.
can. Okay, this is
And
the
they
this is
made
the
me
kicker. You can
For 3
pay.
years?
Yeah.
For 3 years.
You can pay, and not to mention each parent has
You
their own.
can pay. Fuck.
You can pay, or you can do it outside of the school system. But
This is
these
what
are
they tell
services
you, by
that
the way.
should be done
Yeah.
because that is what they're set up for. That is what our taxes and things
I
pay for.
cannot
The
believe
people that
I
want
don't
to.
remember. Well, obviously.
This is why it's so hard for me when people are like, Social Security should be
Oh, yeah,
less.
shut up.
My kids have been on Social Security since, first of all, their dad died while they were minors, and second of all, they are disabled, and I worked my whole fucking life so they could have that.
Yeah.
And people want to say, oh, well, they're just
Yeah, they're dumb.
freeloading.
And-
Bitch,
and-
we're not. I worked since I was 14.
Yeah.
Like,
She's only 30 though.
She's a young thing.
We're all
30
young.
is a 26-year-old.
Okay, listen.
So I'm
listen.
just saying that's a whole
So-
other thing. That's why politics are hard, because everyone's going to have their own understanding of it,
Right.
and because of the things that affect us.
Right.
That's why we know.
Right.
When people say things and I'm like, are you sure you want to do that? Have you ever had a parent live off of Social Security
Like,
yet?
what do you even know?
With their 401k.
Right.
It's not enough to live.
No.
It's not enough to
Exactly.
live. So anyways, that's a whole nother rant. But
So let's go over this. So I had to wait 3 whole years, and then instantly Logan's, diagnosed with autism.
oh right, when you
away.
get the right person.
I got the right person who
Which-
actually sat with him for 3
I
hours.
do want to say
He had to
timing
go
is
to the
everything.
bathroom in the middle of it, and he got water on his shirt, and he tried to take it off.
Yeah.
Because he
Caleb-
can't have water on his shirt.
Okay,
Still to this
well,
day.
this is the other thing, because Caleb and Logan will wipe their hands right here. They both have the same thing.
Yes.
Caleb and Logan are cousins, but they are so
They're
similar.
so similar, and
But if you-
Logan
and they
won't
will
give
be-
anyone
it'll
the time
look-
of day, but especially Caleb, because they're so similar.
But they both wipe their something on the same spot, like on
It's
both.
their hands are sweaty.
But if anything or anyone, if anyone else puts even like touches their shoulder or
touches them.
rain falls on their
Yes.
shoulder, they will take their shirt off where they're at.
Yeah.
Caleb was in
It doesn't matter where
a
we are,
Rite
you
Aid
guys.
one time. I forget what we were grabbing.
Shampoo.
No, no, it was recent. Oh,
It's so
It
hard not to
was-
fidget. I know.
it's stimming.
I know.
We're doing it too.
It's
It's so hard.
I love knowing all the things, but I also love when I didn't know it and it wasn't so much to process. And a bug
Sometimes it's like
fell on him, and we were in.
Oh my gosh, I
And he
remember
took it
this.
off, and he took his shirt off,
And
I
this
was
is
like,
when you were first dating David, wasn't
yes,
it? Oh
no,
my God.
I think it was maybe, I don't know.
No, you were. It
And
was
I was
early
like,
on in the
Caleb,
relationship, at least.
put your shirt on. You cannot take your shirt off. And he's like, there's a bug.
Okay,
And-
wait. Let's also talk about how large Sarah's children are. Her husband was 6'5".
Yes.
And her Colby
Colby's
is 6'6", and
he's-
Caleb's
and
6'5".
Caleb's 6'5".
So
and-
these look like grown men.
And I also have an 18-year-old, you guys, who is an angel baby, and he
He's the
literally,
best. He's so
he does
sweet.
have ADHD too. And he is such a good sibling to all these,
All the babies.
all the kids.
That was
have
so
autism.
cute.
All of
Yesterday we were at Sarah's and Colby grabs a water and he's like, I gotta bring it to Kaden.
Oh,
I love
so
when
cute.
they're so cute together.
He is so sweet with Cole. And what's so funny is boys, well, they're men, but they're my kids, so they listen to men just like we can listen to women easier. It's easier for me to take direction from a woman than it is a man. And
You wanna get my
sometimes
heckles
when
up?
Colby's
I will roll my eyes as far as I can out your head, my head.
and sometimes Colby doesn't listen to me as much, and Caden will come in and I'm like, tell Colby it's time to make us popcorn or something. And he'll do it right away, right when he says, but such a good brother. And that's a whole
That's
nother
so cute.
stressor,
Yeah.
like having the other kid that doesn't have a disability,
Yeah, you're
wondering
trying
if
to
they're
make sure-
gonna feel
I'm like, wait, am I paying too much attention to this child
right.
and not paying enough
And
attention
really,
to this child?
like,
It's really hard.
how selfish is that of us to think that
I know.
everything we do, they're like, I mean, of course we're their world because we're their parents, but really, did we think about
Right.
There was 5 of us. Did you ever feel left out from our mom?
No.
Me
I don't
neither.
think so.
Never.
I can't remember. I'm just gonna throw that out
No,
there.
it's fine.
Shanna's okay.
It's
I was saying we should have Shanna hypnotized because she can't remember past. What is it?
So
10.
there's this really intense.
Talk about trauma.
There's this really intense book. Well,
I
I
literally don't
divorced at
remember.
11. So
No, it's 10.
No, she was 10.
Oh, that's why. So,
But don't you want to go back?
Yes, but
All I can say is go back.
Oh my god! So listen, I'm listening to this really intense book. It's called The Body Keeps Score, and it's about trauma.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Is that the one that David's reading too?
No, that's way too intense for somebody who hasn't had therapy yet. In the
reason
12-step
why
program
what?
that I'm in, me and Jill always go, more will be revealed. Because as you work through shit, you remember more. As your brain can handle it. So we can't hypnotize her because her brain's still not going to handle it.
still-
Okay,
do
I've
it,
talked
Sarah.
about it in
Sarah,
therapy.
don't crush
Let me
my
just
dream.
really
Can you please
throw
learn to be
this
a
out there
hypnotist?
really
Because you
quick.
can hypnotize me. Hypnotize me and tell me I'm rested all the time. I only need 5 hours of sleep.
Oh my God, that would
wouldn't
be so smart.
God, you should be a hypnotist. Can't you do that with your...
I wouldn't shut the fuck up. I would never stop talking. They'd be like, all I know is...
Sarah's like, what does this remind you of?
And when I sing
When I
and we're in
snap,
public,
you
are
walk
going
like
to
a
tell me
chicken.
I need a record deal and get everyone to say I'm a
Orange
great
is the new
singer.
black. Pink is the new what? Pink is the new.
And
orange is the new
also,
pink.
though, back to autism, although all these things are fucking traumatizing,
Right.
it is one of the greatest gifts in my life.
Oh my gosh, I could not love
It is one of the greatest gifts ever.
autistic children more.
They're like angels.
They're perfect.
They are just so...
The sweetest kids you'll ever meet.
And it's not easy.
The smartest.
It's
sweetest bitch
fucking
you'll ever
hard.
meet.
Don't get me wrong. But raising a typical kid is hard too.
Right.
And
It's
as they
just
get
it's
older,
different.
things do
There's
get
different stressors.
Right.
There's totally different stressors.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna lie, a kid with special needs does have. You're never gonna, Logan.
You're never gonna be an empty nester.
Yeah, I'm never.
It's okay. This
he's
is the
always
thing
gonna
that-
live here. This is Logan's house.
Yeah.
Picked it.
It's gonna be
like
like-
the yellow house.
Logan.
I don't
got
even
it,
want to
baby.
talk about. I have anxiety just thinking about because we brought it up. Like we have to. This is what we're gonna do so that we don't have.
Yeah.
So that we
hard.
don't have this underlying worry because that's us
I was just talking
playing a
about
part
this.
in our misery right
Right.
there because we have to do a living will. We fucking called our dad for like 2 years straight to get a
I
living
did.
will.
I told him. I said, Dad, this is not
But-
happening again. You need to make
but
sure this shit's in order.
Yep.
Don't do it ourselves.
I know I'm terrible.
You're not
But
terrible.
listen,
You're actually really amazing.
Listen, the good thing is that our living will be like, and in the event that Shanna is not able to take care
And
of
please
the,
give it
and
to this one.
Jillian,
Yep, it's gonna go
it'll-
down
I mean,
the
it'll
line.
literally go down the line.
But
It'll be Mom.
what
Can't we just
need-
make it and then get it
Mom,
notarized and then
Shanna-
it's
no, that's not
then it's
how that
No,
works. I wish
it
it was.
doesn't. Shanna, I can't even. You can't wait. So Caden's 18. I can't even go in the doctor with him unless he okays it. And
Sarah,
let
you
me-
have
in
to
there.
do your thing for Colby and Caleb.
I do. Will you send me that link because it's the
Yeah.
beginning of my term.
Okay, wait.
Okay, but
Another
wait,
thing
one more
that we have to do, what I was just reminding Sarah to do, is that we have to be conservators for our children. So Colby, if something happened and he was like in the hospital, they'd be like totally aware. Okay, he can't make these decisions by
Right,
himself.
and so I can talk to him, but legally,
yes, legally,
yeah.
Are you joking me? Even
No,
with Colby and Caleb?
Yes.
Oh no.
So the
And another
reason- but
scary thing. Tell the other scary thing about the military.
Oh my God. So,
Oh my god, I didn't even know this still existed.
okay, so there is not a draft right now, but when there was a draft, every young man when they turn 18 gets a letter that states your name and signs it saying if there was a draft, they can draft you. So even with kids with
And you can't go in advance.
No, you
and
can't go in
say-
advance and say this is his diagnosis or whatever. So I got the letters for Colby and Caleb, and I called the regional center, which they are clients of the regional center, which is
All of our
another
kids,
state
yeah.
program that helps you with different resources. Like
Wait, so Colby and Caleb still had to sign them and send them in?
Yes.
so did Caden just last month. So did
Yeah.
Connor.
You have to sign. It's
So you
legally
have to
required.
sign it, and what happens
That's
is
so
if the
stupid.
draft
That's
was
why you
ever
shouldn't have another kid.
reinstated,
Because Wesley doesn't have to because he.
Because he's the only boy?
Yeah.
he's
Right.
the only man. Yeah,
Yeah,
to
he's
carry
the
Yeah,
on
that's
the.
just a little girl anyway.
So what happens? What happens
scared
with
yourself.
Don't blink.
with all you have to sign it.
You
So
have to
Colby and
sign it,
Caleb had
yeah.
to sign it too, and I'm like, well, what are they going to do? Get drafted to war and the not the social worker, social
Yeah,
worker.
she's so. Yeah.
She said, well, what happens is they get evaluated if there ever was a draft, and they could see that there was autism and they couldn't be there. But what I think it is,
It's still terrifying.
it's terrifying, and I call my dad every time, and he's like, "There's not a draft, but they will knock at your door if you don't sign that.
Yeah.
They will come and find you." And which I know because the lady that I did talk to in Santa Clarita when I lived there, she was like, "My brother didn't sign it, and her brother, she has a twin brother, and he's a cop, and his kid didn't sign it, and the fucking federal cops come and tell you, you have to sign this." You're not allowed to.
I cannot
Which is another
understand.
reason
I have
people,
such a hard time
Which is
understanding
another
this.
thing that I think is crazy when people are like, "Well, this is a free country," and I'm like, "But
Is it? Gilead.
No, so here you can't just do whatever you want.
No, and it's in place for a reason, and also the same thing is like being a conservator for my kids who are adults that can't.
Yes.
The reason that's in place is because somebody fucked up somewhere and did the wrong thing for their kid and fucked it up for everybody. So it's a protection, but at the same time, everything is so much footwork and there's so much red tape. But it's worth going through it for things like that. It just is.
I still not over that they will come to your door.
All of them.
Well, yeah, because it's the law. And sometimes I'm like, the USA just wants to say, we have this many people in our troops.
It's like a
even though, like, if you have sunglasses, you wear glasses, you can't even be artillery.
In May is when I start Logan's progress. I have to, or conservatorship thing.
Yeah, it's going to be harder for me to do my kids.
No, it's not.
Older?
No, it's not. It's going to be the same process.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
It's Bedzedic, right?
No, it's We the People and something else.
And you forwarded it to me?
I forwarded it to you. Yeah. Okay. And they do it and they help you.
So the other thing that comes up, I was going to say, I was talking this about Jaquel too. So Shanna has 2 children and they don't seem to have, there's no signs of autism.
I never say that there's no special needs because I don't, I think
because you don't want to say, anyways.
I think every parent should always be prepared.
Oh yeah,
I'm
always hyper aware.
Well, because you have.
And we're like that.
Kids around you all the time.
And we want to protect each other from the discomfort.
Well, why are you washing your hands so many times?
Yeah, no, we don't. I don't.
You taking after your kids.
I don't see that. But also, in saying all this, and also to our listeners, our one listener,
all of them.
Each kid is their own person, and even though I have 2 with autism, they're very different, and each experience with them was different.
And that doesn't make one more autistic than the other.
Right. And it doesn't.
That's why I find it so hard when people say, "Oh, the spectrum is so like it's like."
It is wide. But why though? The spectrum is wide because that's the good thing.
Because it starts with ADD and ends with other things, and you have to have a certain amount of each one of these things in the spectrum to qualify. But within each one, there's also like 3 more things to qualify.
Okay,
so it's like this, just like.
The spectrum's like not offensive.
See a picture of an open book.
It's when people say high functioning because they may show you a high functioning person.
Yeah, but
that's not.
It's like that.
It's like this.
Kid that works
at
Walmart that went to school with Colby Thomas. I think is his name. The blondie.
He didn't go to school. He was the one that was in
the adult program?
Brianna's adult program, and it was not a good experience for him. Jill always thinks that he knows him, but he doesn't really know him. That kid wasn't. That's when Colby has meltdown.
That's when Colby would elope.
What's that mean?
Run. He takes off running when he has a meltdown. Because to everybody else, it looks
so much.
I know.
That's why me and Sarah have alarms on all of our doors.
So the way that we experience their autism it's not right for us to say that it's high functioning from the way we see it.
The kid that works at Walmart.
Oh, well, yeah, because he's had so much training.
Yeah.
That's another thing.
Caleb could do that too, but
it's training. You're literally. It's hard for me because it's almost
we have to do a second one for that part.
It's almost like it's not abuse, but it feels like abuse.
Oh no, it's like
training
it's
them to
it's been proven as a different abuse. But it's like this, like I go to cognitive behavior therapy, which is my talk therapy, to have different tools than I came with for my anxiety and depression, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And for life, because life
that's my baby
shows up and what I am wired to cope with isn't necessarily the healthiest, right?
Right.
So I am rewiring my brain through cognitive behavior therapy.
Right.
So ABA therapy is another I forget what it stands for, is another way that people sit in for hours starting from their diagnosis until they're 22 years old. So it could be a 3-year-old to they're 22. Every day after being at school for 8 hours, sit with a therapist for another 3 or 4 hours every single day to learn how to respond in a conversation.
The reason why I say I don't want to say it's abuse is because
it's helpful.
I don't think that, not even that. I don't think that the parents are going into it thinking they're
harmful.
They're hurting their kids or they're harming their kids.
Yeah. No,
they're being told
that's
this helpful. This will help them so they can go into the world.
You're talking fucking 12 hours
and it doesn't go away. So this is the whole point. You're teaching them to do this one thing, and yes, they'll do it because now it's part of their daily program and routine.
Yeah,
but the feelings that they're having are not
right.
So
also, what happens when they're out of
masking the feelings
and just doing what we want them to do.
So when it comes
to high functioning, it's like this. Say someone
I'd say
having
it's
a
just a
panic
little
attack, you can
pregnant.
see that you're having a panic attack. And Jaquel's having a panic attack, but she is looking at me and smiling. That doesn't mean your panic attack is worse than hers because we can see it.
Yeah.
And that's what it says when you're high functioning. So she looks high functioning and you're not because you showed your panic attack. But really on the inside, you guys feel the same.
Yeah. That's what you're saying about
Asperger's. So Asperger's looks like they are not having any symptoms of autism. And Colby is autism walking. Colby's feel, from the way Colby is experiencing the world, doesn't feel different than the way the Asperger's does.
Yeah.
Now, before we wrap up, because we're almost done with our hour-long sesh,
Wow, that was long.
do you feel like you sat here for a long time?
No, I feel like I talked too much.
No, that was the whole
That was
point
the
of you
whole
being
point,
here.
yeah.
Otherwise, I'd be talking the whole time.
Yeah.
Shannon doesn't have any, like, has
Also,
been around
my kids are 5 and 3. They,
Oh, that's
she
what I was
still
gonna
have
say.
time.
That's what I was gonna say.
Still
The
have
one
time.
thing that I do notice in the one family that of the sisters that doesn't have a child with autism, the reactions we have to her kids at that age are as if the kids have autism,
Yeah, so
because
we're
my
always
kids would take off
watching.
and dart. And Shanna's kids will stop and listen, and my kids would listen. That's not the point. They just could not control their impulses.
Yeah,
and they would
which is
run
hard
off.
because I have a 17-year-old and I have a 4-year-old. So what I do with Logan bleeds into what I do with Loxley,
and it's
who is
like-
not autistic in any way, shape, or
Right.
form. If anything, he's
So
some
cute.
sort of savant genius.
Yeah.
That, not to say that Logan's not a genius, because if you want to ask our kids these things,
I mean, you could ask them
autistic children
anything and
are
they'll have the
smarter
answer for
than
you.
anybody
Caleb
else in the room,
literally
you guys.
came in my room last night and was like, "Mom, what year did
Sarah's
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
premiere in the United States theatrically?" He's all, because I think it was 2015 in September, and I'm like, okay, and I looked and it was literally September 14th, 2005. He said 2005, but I was like, he's all, oh, I was right, and then walked away. Like, it's not, that's absolutely,
And then you go like
that's not
this-
even one of his favorites.
You go like this to Colby, first of all. What year did Aristocats come out? And he'll tell you exactly what year it is, what day, when it was released. Caleb, what year did Taco Bell open? And he'll tell
Yes.
you exactly.
It's
So it's definitely not mental retardation, which is why that part's so hard, is because when you get
And
to know
why
someone
they
with
still
autism,
use that term.
they always have a gift, and you never, until they're comfortable with you, and you're gonna stop and let. And
That's like when I worked for Starbucks and Colby would, when they were still in high school, Colby would come and the aides would just stare at me because they were
because
like,
of the way he interacted with you.
He doesn't even
Yes.
talk to us.
Yes.
Where
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, well, I'm his
Oh,
best
that
friend.
reminds me of when they went into Guitar Center and Sean was there. He's like, my Colby, and Colby came and sat with him and played guitar, and they did the
Oh
same
my
thing.
God,
He was
that
like,
is
it's
so
Uncle
cute.
Sean.
So that is also so good for me to hear
That
right
is
now,
so cute.
because
I have a
there
picture of
been,
him with the
there's
guitar.
there's kids that get hurt, and on social media I saw this thing where this terrible human being was hurting this nonverbal kid with autism on the bus.
Sarah, I saw that. I'm still
Disgusting.
traumatized
Okay,
by
I
it.
talked to
I
my
had to
therapist about
swipe
it.
by it because I was
So
like,
listen,
why is that?
she's
Sometimes-
already been arrested. It's old.
I know, but sometimes I just can't go on social media because
Also,
of
like,
this
why
stuff.
are you so disgusting?
Oh, she obviously was probably abused, or she had a bad day and thought it was okay to
I don't
abuse
care,
that
I
kid.
hate her.
She's in
Yep.
prison.
Good.
So when things like
Rotten
that
there,
happen,
girlfriend.
I automatically
so
think
hard.
that could happen to my kids.
Right.
But what I will say is the way that Colby interacts with us, my kids come to me. My kids know it's safe,
Yes.
and I've worked really hard to be.
Yes.
It
It wasn't like that when they were little. This is a lifelong working every day. This
Right.
we will never not work with our. We'll
To do
always have
better,
to
be
work with
better
our children.
parents.
So the
that
one
have-
good
yeah.
thing I
Yeah.
will say that
To
I'm
offer
very
them
aware
more.
of, especially this last month because they started that new program, is when they see us, they'll tell us. We can tell when something's off with our kids, and not that a parent that doesn't see it, isn't seeing
No,
something.
we're lucky because
But I
now
am
we've
so
taught them to come
right.
to us.
Right.
Because in the beginning it
we-
wasn't like that.
No, and
It's like
we
when I
have.
asked Winter, who hurt your feelings? And she pointed at me, and I was like, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, I was gonna, but one more thing
Okay, wrap it
before
up.
we wrap up. I was going to talk about other people in our not our close family, but other relatives. When we have other relatives that come around our kids who aren't always around our kids,
Yeah.
and they ask us these very bizarre questions.
Oh, it's so offensive because they're
And
supposed to be people that know.
They're supposed to support. They're supposed to.
And
that's-
educate themselves
and educate
because they know
themselves.
it's a, yeah.
But I will tell you that is because we were raised with people that would do
Because
that.
mom's a
And
Our
girl.
dad
I've honestly had
literally
someone say
went.
to
Our
me-
dad, even our stepmom Leslie, went to thousands of dollars worth of fucking things.
Thank you. It's,
for people
they
we
educate
literally-
themselves
So
and work hard for our kids.
I'll tell you something right now that I've learned in my program as well. So our expectation of what other people, because they're family, should do hurts our own feelings.
Right.
But when it's a grandparent,
Right.
without saying too much, that is
Oh, I'm leaving it.
so offensive.
It is so offensive.
And,
tell me
it's
about it.
really
unacceptable
hurtful.
because
Yeah, it's really hurtful.
I know that person is around other people in special education, and I also know that it's not for lack of having your husband, Sean, my brother-in-law, a literal walking encyclopedia.
Yeah.
Who is so calm and explains everything. So I understand why it hurts feelings. And I
It does hurt feelings.
I also want to say that if you want to be around our kids and want to stay involved in our kids, you have to be educated.
You have
There
to be.
isn't one person
know,
you're going
I
to have
don't
around
have-
our
We have
kids.
we already have our codependent besties here. We don't need any more. You know
But
what I
it's
mean?
I'm
true.
not going to have my kids be uncomfortable so that you're comfortable.
And I'm not
That's
gonna-
my
100%.
reality.
Yeah.
I'm never going to have my kid.
Even
my
I
kids
mean-
don't have to hug you. They
Oh,
don't have
never.
to kiss you.
Never.
They don't have to give you. You don't have to talk to you. They
Right.
don't.
Yep.
Because if they're
And my
doing
kids
something-
won't.
100%.
They have autism, and I'm not going to make them feel bad because their autism is offending you.
Exactly,
Because
exactly.
that is not how the world
Also,
is.
because that's all, it's not about you.
It's not about you, and this goes back to the puzzle piece. They don't have to fit into your world. You need to fit into theirs.
especially if
They-
we're gonna
And
have you around them.
even
Yes.
not even going further to say you don't have to fit in, but you do have to allow them to have space to be whoever they are.
Yeah, and there's nothing.
They don't
wrong-
have to fit
there's-
in anything
We're not,
or vice versa,
You
it's
know,
just-
royalty that are held on ceremony where they have to say hello and
Sorrows.
goodbye.
The other thing,
sorrows.
The other thing is, kids with autism are like toddlers. They are allowed to say what the truth is because they don't understand
Yeah,
lying.
if you
they don't
if you're
sugarcoat it.
sensitive, don't come around my kid because
Also-
he will lay your ass
also-
out.
He's like,
for
why do you
instance-
have that on? You
for
look
He's like,
instance-
why is your tooth missing?
Oh, right.
Why is it?
My boyfriend's front tooth has to be like a post,
Yeah.
and my
he
niece,
has a
who's
retainer.
5, who does not have autism, is like, what
Where-
happened to your tooth?
Exactly.
If you're going to
That
be
is
hurt by a
what's
little kid,
Yes.
that's the same as being hurt by my 22-year-old who's going to
Exactly.
ask you why your hair might be gray and when is his going to be gray. And it's literally, if it's going to hurt your feelings, I'm sorry.
Yeah. I'm
Let
not.
your
I'm not
feelings be
sorry.
hurt.
I'm not.
That's
you can,
like-
your feelings can be hurt by yourself.
And I have
not
a-
sorry.
Also, don't let it show in front of my kid because you will be leaving.
Right.
my house.
Also
Stop
Roger,
crying.
Roger, who is like, he is like the adopted grandfather for all the kids. He has a
And
bald
me.
head.
He's bald head. Yeah.
Colby's like, where's your hair, Roger? Where's your teeth, Roger? He literally doesn't care. It's Colby.
And Roger just laughs.
He does. That is what, because he
I know, Rogers
understands
is
it's the
the
kid.
best.
You don't even have to know more than my kid's not trying to hurt your feelings. He's just existing, and they are literal joy. Like there's people
Exactly.
in our lives who weren't here from the get-go.
You know what it is?
Even David,
you
my
know
boyfriend.
what it is? They're a walking, like, they are the lie detector test. Like, they will
are.
tell you the truth in every single
And they're
thing.
literal
They
joy.
don't-
There
They
is
literally
nothing-
don't know how to lie.
Yeah.
They don't know how to lie. They don't know how to do anything
The only
bad.
thing I'm not going to do is have my kid, and I'm not going to have Winter or Wesley or Loxley walk around and be like, why is that person that size and you're that size? Like, you can explain certain things and say,
Yes.
that is hurtful.
That hurts.
But if
That
you're
might hurt.
bald and you're still upset that you're bald, that is your
Wrong
issue.
name and
Yeah,
names.
right.
My kids ask me my hair grows in black and the ends are blonde.
I
like,
know.
I'm not
Loxley
going to
asked me that yesterday. He's like, "Why is this so dark right here?" I'm like, "That's just how the color
Like-
of my hair." You know, like just let it roll off your
When
back.
I have a bump on my nose,
Winter
right?
told me,
I have a
want
bump on my
big
nose.
eyelashes, and I said, "Oh, like who?" She said, "Auntie Sarah."
And my
Auntie Sarah.
eyelashes are fake as shit, and I don't care. I'm like, if you're gonna go big, and I love them, and I don't really care.
Now I wonder what your eyelashes look like.
I'll show you a
They're
picture.
bald.
They're white, like
Also,
they're
yeah.
white. I have blonde lashes. We all do.
No, I don't, bish.
Oh, you're lucky.
okay, Flutter.
But yeah, like there's just certain
You mean
things. And if you're having a hard day and
These
gonna
are
get
the
offended
best.
by a kid, you should not be in public because
Yeah.
there's some grown ass
Then
men
it's
who
called
hurt my feelings every time I go
THER.
outside.
Thank you.
APY.
Like, that's
Tell
a
me to
whole
smile.
nother
Like
story.
Smile
I have a
more.
lot
Fuck
going
you.
on. I don't want to smile. I have something in my tooth.
I have no tooth. How about that?
It's just when
And I don't want to smile at your
Sorely-
skeezy, gross, slimy hair.
Sorely mistaken when they say something like that to me.
Like, oh, no, you didn't.
It's just one of those things. We all just need to be nice and get along. And I
Also,
have my support system, so we are a little more secure in our lives, and I'm forever grateful for that.
Yeah, and if you need autism support,
Yes,
just
always reach out to
message
us.
the Goodman gals.
Yeah.
Yeah,
'cause
we will be your friend.
Or any special needs.
Yeah.
Any special
Any
needs.
special
we
needs,
love
because
all
the other
those
thing-
special needs babies.
And the moms.
And that includes the adult
And the
babies.
dads.
That's all the babies. All
Yeah.
the babies.
And we have freaking trudged this road through
to trudge.
snow and mud
Uphill.
and
Both
cliffs.
ways.
But ours, it would be our pleasure to share that shit with you guys,
Yes.
because we didn't do it for nothing. And
No.
everybody
Also,
grieves
like,
the life their
like
kid
we
was going to have
said,
before that.
you know,
and
there's
it's
so
all
much
normal.
education in what we learn to better ourselves to be able to help the kids in the best way possible. Like, yes, my kids don't have autism, but they also
That doesn't, but they know, like,
they
we
also know
teach
that
within our
Colby's going to
children.
pick you up because you are the son.
Yeah.
You are the son.
son
You
from
are the
Teletubbies.
Teletubbies son that he watched when he was
Uh-huh.
2.
And like Colby is, oh god, I love to snuggle my like Caleb's coming over to spend the night at my house tonight. This is Shaquille because I'm his favorite, and he just wants. He's like, can I come over without my mom and my brothers? And I said, oh yeah.
Alicia was like, that is so brave of both of you. You letting him go, her having OCD and sharing that. I was like, I can't even tell you.
Oh, because of his OCD. I'm like, what did I do? I see.
But
I see.
I
Like
will
a
tell
wave.
you,
It is a wave. That's exactly what you're supposed to do.
He did. He told
You can
he-
answer.
telling
No.
us.
Answer.
It's audio.
We
Hi,
answered
Caleb.
Jillian's FaceTime too. Put
Hi,
on speaker.
Caleb. No, you didn't mean to call me?
I'm on call.
It's my favorite.
I'm on
He's
call.
like, I was just putting my headphones in.
So I do want to say too, though, even if you don't need any advice from us and you just feel like you
venting, whatever.
you want us to shoulder that, like
IEP
sharing it with
process,
somebody,
anything.
We hold
sharing-
this space for you.
yeah,
Yes.
and sharing what's going on with you gives away 50% of the pressure, and we can shoulder that with you. It doesn't have to be done alone. It is scary. It's okay that it's scary. It's okay that it's overwhelming. It doesn't mean you love your kids less. It's the truth.
Yeah.
And just
And
because,
also, you know, we as moms, we have a tendency to like just put on that happy face for everybody all the time, but it's not. That's why motherhood is something you can like, you hold the space for other
Oh,
people.
and also here's another good point, just
we're
to make
still
sure.
human beings without being moms.
If
That's
you
not-
have something, if you're afraid to say something, don't be. You're your child's only advocate.
Oh
you
my God,
say it in
advocate,
the doctor.
advocate.
You say it with the school. You say it with everyone. You are in charge.
You're in charge, and what you say goes. You
Yeah.
know your kid the best. If it's a worry, tell them. If it's a fact, tell them. If they're doing something your kid doesn't like, please tell them.
them.
And I will say that now that I am getting my graduate degree, because I don't know, COVID happened and I thought I needed more stress. My graduate degree is in health promotion and education, which just sounds like a teacher, but it's not. It's literally advocating for people like this.
Yes.
And people in the world that don't know the laws and what's there for you.
Yes.
That
You have so
we personally
many things.
put taxes away in
Regional
our own,
center, IHSS,
And sometimes people
Social
really
mental
Security,
health.
mental, all of it.
All of it.
Regional center will put what are they called, Sarah? Authorizations, not authorizations.
Authorizations
No,
through.
referrals.
Yeah.
Referrals to go with occupational therapy,
Everything.
programs,
Respite,
so many
someone
things.
to come in your
Yeah.
house for a couple hours a day with you there, or if you need to leave, whatever you need to do, just so that you, even if you need them to
So
do
you're
your
not burnt
kids'
out.
laundry, like there's resources out there,
So
and
many.
it's good to use them, and it doesn't make you less of a mom. It makes you a better mom than spreading yourself too thin.
Thank you.
And good night.
And good night. Okay,
Okay,
bye.
bye.
Bye.